Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks. We're two geeks to geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, plus a third, is Frank and Vactor from This Comic Cooks. How are you today, gentlemen? Vactor, you start first. How are you?
It's a great day to talk to my friends. I'm recovering from a little bit of an infection, but I can't wait to talk Batman with these two.
Yeah. Frank, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be talking about the Bat with the both of you.
Excellent. I am as well. I'm so excited that I am wearing my Batman Cape Crusader t-shirt that I got, get this, at DC Fandom.
Nice.
It's almost like a weird relic from the past already.
Yes, it really is.
Isn't that so strange? But yeah, I've been pumped for this show since they announced it.
Yeah.
So I am super jazzed to talk about it with you fine gentlemen. Vactor, as you well know, because you've been on the show plenty of times on Beer with Geeks, Frank and I consume a beverage. Sometimes it's alcoholic, sometimes it's not. Beer is actually a misnomer. Past episode 500. It can be anything. It's really more like liquid with geeks.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, because something like chips with geeks is not microphone friendly.
Right.
And so nobody wants to hear that. So anyway, Frank, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking a Fiddlehead IPA. Fiddlehead is a Vermont brewery. Listeners of Beer with Geeks will have known that the last few weeks I've been drinking through some beers that some relatives from Vermont left at my house after a party. So this is their signature sort of IPA. It's their sort of best known beer, like the flagship beer, if you will, that they make, and it is a really nice, refreshing IPA. It is definitely one of the hoppy boys, but it is nice, crisp, refreshing. I enjoy it.
Sounds great. Excellent.
I don't drink a lot of IPAs generally, but this stash of Vermont beers is like 90% IPAs. So here we are.
Because low-key Vermont is one of the best states in the country. And I say that wholeheartedly as somebody who does not live there. It's just top-notch. Vactor.
I'm trying to be healthier, boys. So I'm drinking my Smart Water today. I've been trying to drink water with electrolytes, especially because out here in Arizona, today was 112. Right now it's 109 degrees. And I also, because I've been under the weather, I think I've just been dehydrated. So I've been trying to drink water with electrolytes. So this is my indulgence right now. Actually, you know what? There's a Gatorade water that has electrolytes. It has no calories. And I can't remember, it's called Prime or something.
Yeah.
I got it at the store the other day, and I was like, whoa, this tastes really good. I need to get some more of that. I would be drinking it right now, but I drank the whole 6-pack because it was so good. But shout out to Gatorade.
You're hydrated. So,
yeah.
I would be drinking it now, but at least my bladder's full, so it's all good. Yeah. I am drinking something from the Best Day Brewing Company. Which is in Northern California. It is a Kolsch-Style non-alcoholic. And so it is it's brewed for doers, surfers, climbers, early risers, free divers, chefs, gardeners, dancers, oyster farmers, dreamers, painters, builders, mothers, fathers, runners, hikers, walkers, makers, ranchers, nurses, woodworkers, teachers, me, skiers, bikers, doctors, hot air ballooners, entrepreneurs, clowns, Frank, bakers, tree huggers, photographers.
Wow, I've been shocked.
Pitmasters, neighbors, snowshoers, fishermen, fisherwomen, foragers, fans, Vactor, musicians, poets, and lifeguards.
Yeah. That is
But not podcasters. Podcasters is nowhere in there.
No, but we're all covered.
We're all covered in one way or another. Yeah.
I'll have you know, I did not plan that. That was spur of the moment. As I was reading the list, I was getting down to it. I was like, I was really hoping there's one for Vactor.
Well, you had fathers. Like we're all covered with that one. But...
Sure, but that's not the boring one. Never boring being a parent, I can tell you.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's pretty good. I would not say that it tastes like a Kolsch. That would be the only thing. I don't consider Kolsch's dry. They're not very dry.
No, it shouldn't be dry. Yeah.
No, and this one has it veers on it. It has that tendency to veer in that direction. So it's like actually veering closer to an IPA or some kind of hazy lager instead of a Kolsch. However, it is tasty, and truthfully, I keep drinking these non-alcoholic beers on the show because there are no rules after 500, as we've established.
Yes, that's right.
But that's mostly because they sell them at Whole Foods, and when I go grocery shopping, I'm like, well, that's close enough because I don't actually have time to go to the store that does sell the beer. And so, so I just thank you, Whole Foods, for selling non-alcoholic beverages, so I can still partake in beer.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip, honestly, for anybody who. Like, I didn't realize they had such a nice selection. I mean, you've had a nice selection of them the last few weeks of and
they've been
quality.
Really they've been good. Like, if you didn't tell me it was non-alcoholic, I'd say the same thing. I'd say it doesn't really taste like a Kolsch, or like I would expect a Kolsch to taste, but it is really good. So, anyway, gentlemen, we are here to talk Batman: The Caped Crusader, the show made by Warner Brothers, farmed out, licensed out to Amazon Prime. Because I don't care what people say, that was a smart move on David Zaslav's part. We're like, he's stupid. He didn't put it on his own streaming service. I'm like, no, he made money. He's very right. He made the good move. Yeah.
It's the it's the TV model, right? Like studios make stuff to sell to other networks all the time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like Lionsgate doesn't have their own streaming service, so they're like,
sure.
Oh, you're stupid for having it. John Wick be in a movie theater.
Right.
No.
But also, like, Warner Brothers, Friends is Warner Brothers, but it aired on NBC. Do you know what I mean? Like, they sell stuff to other networks all the time, even when they have their own network. Sometimes their network doesn't want what their studio made.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So anyway, it's out. We've watched all 10 episodes, and so we'll do a round of what'd you think, and then we'll go into spoilers and things to talk about and blah blah blah. Vactor, what'd you think?
Well, overall, I'm very much more satisfied at the end than I was at the beginning. And the reason, I'll tell you why, the ending of it, I found out that they were going to be continuing to a season 2. And I said, oh, okay, this is not if I had to judge this just off of these 10 episodes, I think I would be more disappointed. I felt the same way. I think we had this talk on another podcast about Ahsoka. As I was watching it, I was like, oh man, if they can just continue this story, this is kind of a bad place to leave it. This is the same thing that happened here. I was like, this is where you're going to end it. This is where the quote unquote cliffhanger is going to be. And now that I know that there's more, I feel confident. I have less anxiety, and I'm like, okay, the storytelling is good. The team that they have is good. As long as everything continues, they don't change it up. Similar to X-Men 97, I'm like, man, if they're going to just continue this, it's going to be great the next season. So I'm feeling a lot better than I was. But I'll tell you, as I was watching it, I was like, this is good, but does it justify its existence? Because Batman the Animated Series, to me, was so groundbreaking. I said, what does this add to that, right? Like, what does this show? What is the reason why this one exists? I can say Brave and the Bold, right? Like, that's okay. This is something completely different from Batman the Animated Series. It justifies its existence. It's a great entry into the Batman canon. So when I was watching this, I was like, man, it's good, but it's not groundbreaking. It's not.
I think I can actually challenge you. I think I can challenge you on that. I think I can actually give you what it does add, because I had the same feeling after the first episode. I was like, all right, if the rest of it's like that, I mean, I'll watch it, but I'm not like pumped. But by the end, I was like, oh no, this is good. Like I like this. But I think you're right in that this Batman the Animated Series was groundbreaking. If you watch cartoons in the same era, you know that it's just kind of leaps ahead of what everybody else was doing, especially superhero cartoons at the time.
Right. Iron
Man, Fantastic Four, like all those other shows that were out there. X-Men and Spider-Man came a little bit after, so they got to kind of get reap the benefits of what Batman was doing. This show, I think, actually gives you consequences. It's giving you a Batman cartoon with consequences that other shows are not allowed to do. Like, if you knew that, say, Two-Face is going to be, or the Joker or Penguin is going to be defeated in one episode, you know they're going to be back. Right. This show, some of them are not coming back, like, pretty definitively. And, like, they're telling... It's episodic. It's old school TV. It's episodic, but there's a one story arc continuing, one thread that runs through the whole thing. And that thread, which is not new to animation or cartoons or superhero comics or whatever cartoons, but I think that the consequences of characters' actions and them sticking with them and like characters not returning or whatever, I think that's new for Batman, I should say. Pretty distinctly for Batman. And so I'm here for it for that reason. And it didn't get to me to that point until episode 10, where I was like, oh, I see. Well, maybe a couple before then, maybe, well, I don't want to touch spoilers, but
sure.
Let's say so. Frank, what did you think?
I really enjoyed it, like all the way through. I sort of went in. This is one of the reasons why I've been trying to go into things with as little advanced knowledge as possible, because I don't have really any expectations, and I'm at least for me, I'm able to judge it a little bit more like, okay, let me just watch the thing for itself, and see how I react to it. And I enjoyed it a lot. Like, it felt like a great, like, it felt like something very familiar, because of the Bruce Timm aspect of things, and Diedrich Bader and those things. But it felt like I was cracking open a trade paperback, retelling of that set of Batman lore, told through this in this like 1940s sort of time period. I loved the aesthetics of it. I loved the storytelling was I thought paced really, really well in a way that kept me. I binged this in like 2 binges, and it kept me on the hook for like, all right, one more. And they were short enough that I was able to like power through them. I enjoyed it a lot, and like, I had a lot of fun. I would love. I know there's a season 2 coming. I would love them to do almost self-contained ones like this, like once a year. Like the way they put out a movie every every 3 months or whatever it is. I would love them to do a Batman series, 10 episodes, but they don't have to be like, and season 2 is a sequel, like it continues the story. I would then like them to go, let me now take me to a 1950s space age version of that, and now take me to whatever, like take me to different versions of different stories.
And that also would, to me, make it stand out even more, because I do like what Tim said about the consequences, because that also plays into something I was reading after. Frank, I went in unsullied, almost like you as well, where I didn't read a whole lot of stuff. So I didn't find this out until after that. Bruce Timm.
Hold on. Let's maybe say spoilers from here on out, just in case you say anything spoilery.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah, let's say spoilers from now on. But this is a behind the scenes thing. So I found out that Bruce Timm, originally they went to him and they said, "Hey, we want you to do a modern version of Batman the Animated Series." And he said, "I'm not interested, but I have some ideas and some scripts that were too dark for the 90s. We couldn't get away with that on television. Now you can." And so a lot of the things like, I think people dying and people, you don't have to be safe of G.I. Joe. If their plane gets shut down, they're not, oh, you have to show the parachute, make sure that guy survived. You can say that they died, or, the Harley Quinn episode when the house went off the mountain or the mountain collapsed, those guys are dead. Those guys are not coming back. Although I was like,
Firebug for the
Firebug, yes.
For that matter. Just that's that was obviously too dark for the 90s for kids to go, but yeah. I think that was actually the episode where I went, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in.
So yeah, I like that. And with season 2, we can definitely get into that even more of those guys are not back. Firebug is not committing crimes and Batman doesn't have to shut him down again. It also feels a lot of like the Nolan universe where it's not necessarily, all right, this guy is going to last until the next movie. Although, what's his name? Scarecrow did. That was just kind of like a side thing. Yeah. Most of the villains, it's like Batman took them down and we didn't see them again, or they got put away, or whatever it was. It felt more grounded, more realistic, and not like a 90s cartoon.
Come again,
so,
right?
Yeah.
The
Joker again? Come again for the 13th time this week.
I like that aspect of it. But again, like I said, to me, I wanted something like to stand out, like Frank's idea of, hey, let's do a space age version of that. Let's do an Adam West version or whatever it is, something that makes it stand out to me. Of this felt like an evolution of Batman the Animated Series. It felt like a darker, grittier tone. Also felt like the Batman. Matt Reeves was one of the executive producers, and I felt a lot of the Batman influence in this. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the J.J. Abrams influence was. He's one of the executive producers, but I also, as I texted you
Good job, guys, you go.
Yeah.
He also did a Spider-Man.
A single lens flare in this whole cartoon.
He also did a Spider-Man story with his son that I didn't really love, and it was like, what did J.J. Abrams add to this Spider-Man story? But that's another story.
His signature.
That's right. I liked like I said, all the people involved as far as storytellers, and especially the Ed Brubaker was another one that I saw his name in the credits, and I was like, whoa, this immediately
I think he was the head writer in the writer.
Yes.
I noticed he wrote 3 episodes, and like every time I saw Ed Brubaker's name, I was like, yeah. But Greg Rucka was another name. He wrote the Clayface episode, which was my favorite.
That makes so much sense. That was my favorite too.
Of all the 10. And what I text you guys back behind the scenes was, this feels very Gotham Central to me. And Gotham Central was written by Brubaker and Rucka. And it was all about the Gotham police. The whole thing was told, which is what the Gotham show should have been, was the Gotham Central comic. But I digress. It was told from the standpoint of the police, and Batman and Joker and everybody was in the background. You would see them enter from time to time, but you never switched over to their perspective. Mm-hmm. This is told from Batman's perspective. We get him and Alfred and all this stuff.
It's kind of not really, though. I actually consider this a full ensemble show. Like, it starts with Batman's perspective, which is something else that it adds, which I think is something that we actually haven't experienced before. There are key episodes of different Batman shows that give us the police perspective. Actually, The Batman was really good at that, especially in the first season. It kind of ditched it as the show went on, but the first season especially. But this one, like, there are whole episodes where I'm like, oh yeah, right, Batman's in the show. And I really liked that. Like, I liked really getting to know the supporting cast, because by the end they didn't feel like they were supporting anymore. This is an ensemble piece, and everybody's an equal player in it, which is also something new for Batman animation, really in this particular way. Mm-hmm. So where it did have, like, to Vactor's point, like, it had shades of these other elements. I feel like there was enough different things to really make it feel new. Like, even though it had mostly Bruce Timm's pretty signature style attached to it, Batman was really the only character that I felt really close to Bruce Timm's designs. It's like these other characters that show up, like Harley or Gentleman Ghost, Onomatopoeia, Clayface, Firefly, Catwoman, they're all based on their early Bill Finger or Bob Kane Bill Finger.
Still thinking.
Design
like their golden age.
Yeah, and
Yes,
I really like, and I really like that.
I did
right,
like that. Yeah.
But even I agree with you. But they were Bruce Timmified versions of that. Still,
Absolutely.
like they were still, yeah.
Yes, they were, but I didn't feel like I was watching like a reskin of
Batman
the animated series, despite the scores or whatever, or
No,
I agree with that.
Fleischer's Lois Lane showing up twice.
Yes, twice. Yeah. I knew about the one. I didn't know about the second one.
Yeah, that was exciting.
I was glad it wasn't like Superman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited. Those felt like reskins of the Batman art style, the blocky shoulders and everything.
Yes,
this feels like updated. It feels like this is a modern take on it, modern version of it. And I think all those things Tim mentioned were great. The Golden Age designs, the Batmobile, all those things. What did you guys think? I was curious because I had another conversation with another Tim, Super Tim, who has frequently appeared on This Comic Cooks. He was kind of taken aback by Batman calling Alfred Pennyworth. And by the end, we do get him calling him Alfred. Like you can see an arc and an evolution of his character. But throughout, did you guys feel weird? Because we've known Batman for so long of Alfred being his dad. We're raising him and him always calling him Alfred.
Yes, I have thoughts on this that I would like to share. I haven't gone back to check, but I had the suspicion that early Batman comics has Batman calling him Pennyworth and not Alfred. In that way,
I haven't looked yet.
If we're looking at this as not like it looks like the 40s, but it's kind of like actually the 40s. Like in that, like there are no computers or cell phones or whatever. Like it's not like aesthetically like a mishmash like Batman the Animated Series where there are like there's artificial intelligence, but there's also computers. I think this is like just supposed to be like kind of like legitimately the 40s.
I think you're right.
Yes. Yeah, right.
So
the radio that he has, and it's like it's not the animated series. Actually, I was watching some special feature or something where they were talking about that, where they were saying they originally wanted the animated series to just be straight set in the 40s, but Fox or whoever it was like, no, it's got to be modern. So they had the Art Deco stylings, but they would have these modern computers and all these things. Like it just didn't feel like they were set in the 40s. This one, to Tim's pointing out, it feels like it is set in the 40s, and I think it's supposed to be specifically.
Right. So to continue on my thought process here. So I feel like that's a part of it, but further, if it's really set in the 40s, Bruce comes from generations of wealth, right? And so even though Alfred's the guy that raised him in the 40s, you're talking upstairs, like an upstairs downstairs quality thing. So even though Alfred raised him after his parents died, like he's still the help, no matter how much he cares about him. Like he's Pennyworth because that's what you'd call like it's Mr. This or Mrs. That or anything. You don't call each other by their first names, especially like the older staff or heads of household or whatever else. You know, the butler is Mr. So and so.
Right.
So for Bruce to break away from that by the end of the first season and call him Alfred, he's breaking down a class barrier, not like this weird like holdover thing where he's like, you're just the help. Like in his head, that's part of it, but he's like moving out of that as he's seeing people struggle and helping those people in their struggles and everything. So the show doesn't say it, but I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And it's also adding to the year one aspect of it. Like it feels like this is his first year.
It feels like week two. It's not even like it's not even year one. He's
Batman
I've
week
barely
two.
been outside.
Right. Yeah. Whereas the animated series, it felt like he was established from the first episode. Like it felt like he had been Batman. So yeah, that also if they had kind of leaned into that, maybe even calling it year one or something with year one, that to me would have, in my mind, like I would have looked at it as, okay, this is more setting it apart from.
But then what happens when he's in year two and it's still called Batman Year One?
But they could change that. What if they could change that? Because we're in streaming now. You could do that. You could change it and call it Batman year 2.
Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but they're no those. I mean, those are not continuing stories. They're separate entities based on the same format.
But it's kind of Tales of the Jedi season 2, right? Like it's kind of in a way what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I guess logically, an audience member could follow. Oh, it's Batman year 1, and then it's Batman year 2 because I know how numbers work, right?
Yes.
So like, it wouldn't be that hard. But as soon as you call it Batman year 1, you got a whole conglomerate of people going, well, that's not year 1. That's not, that's not the book I read. And then by the time you get to year 2, like, where's the Reaper, my favorite character? Like of all time,
Right.
This art doesn't resemble Todd McFarlane's. Yeah, so call it Crusader and make nobody happy. I don't know.
Exactly.
His tape's not nearly long enough for him. He didn't go to the Middle East once. He's not a Crusader.
Didn't crusade at all. Oh, wow.
I do like that name, although it's just playing on, we know that's one of his most famous nicknames. And I thought that was going to be the next movie title after the Batman. I thought it was going to be Cape Crusader, but that's all marketing stuff.
Honestly, if they were smart, the next Batman movie is just called Batman. And just like do the thing with that Superman's doing and just kind of keep it rolling. Because you can refer to the other ones, Batman 66, because that first Batman movie with Adam West is just Batman.
It's true.
Right.
And there's another Batman movie in 1989. No one got confused.
That's very true.
Yeah. So I feel like after a certain amount of time, you can just recall things the same name.
Batman 25, Batman 26, give it that's what we would call it. That's what we would call it.
Right. Yeah.
But I also loved the noir aspects of it. And that's, again, to me, that's the Brubaker and Greg Rucka influence, because they are masters of noir stuff. And
Tim, I mean, that's obviously
Bruce Timm too.
From the original.
Yeah, all of them. Really.
I actually would really like to see a lot of more behind the scenes stuff. I'd like to see like interviews and stuff just to see who's doing what and parsing out the stuff. But and just hearing the creators talk, I always love those type of things. But I do think you can feel these presences and these influences, but with the exception of JJ, you can feel these guys dipping their toes in and putting their touches on it. So I'm again at the end of the season, looking back on it, I feel a lot better than I did as I was going through it, because I was just holding it up to that standard of the animated series where I was like, man, I'm liking this, but I don't like this as much as I like the animated series. So each episode that was my own personal thing that I was taking into each one. And so by the end of it, I also, again, if we had more episodes, like we had maybe 20, 25 episodes like we did back in the day, maybe I would have gotten that out of my mouth, like that taste out of my mouth. Because 10 is so short, it's like you're just getting into it and you're just getting a feel for what this show is. So to me, by the time I got to the last episode, I was like, okay, now I feel confident and I feel like I know what they're going for. And the next season, if they just continue on with this and what is their take on the Joker, that's going to be interesting to me to see how they play that. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Could you figure out who his voice was at the end? Have they released the voice actor?
I haven't seen anything. Let me see if I can Google it real quick. Do I get a Google?
Oh yeah,
It's
a look up.
Yeah, gets one. It felt like it was somebody familiar. Like I felt like I recognized it, but couldn't put my finger on it. Right?
Yeah, I pinged the voice, but it wasn't enough for me to know single-handedly. Which villain adaptation worked best for you? And which one? And were there any that didn't really work for you? Was there something missing from any? So there is Penguin, which is a gender bent, Oswalda.
Yes, that was interesting.
Clayface, Catwoman, Firefly, Firebug, whatever you want to call it. Harley, Gentleman Ghost, Onomatopoeia, the weird carnival thing. With all the Robins. all the kids.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Arguably
yeah.
the
I
most
want to
Brown.
I want to talk about each one of these. Each one of these, as you're bringing them up, I was like, man, I got thoughts on each one of these.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll go back to the episode 1 and then Two-Face.
Yes.
In
Mine. Well, I love Dietrich Bader. I love Dietrich Bader ever since Batman Brave and the Bold. Like anytime I hear his voice, I just immediately get happy. So even when he's playing a bad guy, even when he's playing a dirt bag, I still root for him. So that he had a little soft spot for me on that side of it. But the reason why the Clayface episode is my favorite is I felt like they did him in such a great way, and the Golden Age version of Clayface, not like the one we're used to from the animated series. And I just thought that one was a perfect noir episode, like from start to finish. So I that was my favorite villain from every episode.
Yeah. That was definitely a standout episode.
Yeah. I think Clayface might have been my favorite too. I think Harvey exists in a slightly different
kind of a different category.
He's not a one and done. Like it's his story, it's like his
arc. An arc, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. I did like it, the Two-Face in this. Like it was very Dark Knight in its execution. Like he never felt like he had two personalities or anything like that. Like he does. Like he but it's more like this like an inner monologue than anything else. Like the one that really didn't work for me and I wanted it to was Onomatopoeia. It might have been the voice acting, it might have been the execution of the onomatopoeia itself, but it just kind of was like it kind of fell flat. I liked the design, but I didn't. Yeah, but the villain itself didn't really do it for me.
Just okay.
Yeah, that was probably
100%.
Gentleman Ghost was also kind of just okay.
I really liked that episode. I don't know because I like ghosts.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, that was right up your alley, though.
Like I don't know. Like,
that's very Headless Horseman.
That I liked about it, and and actually, you know what?
And the costumes were great.
They were great. I really liked his design. What I really like about that episode is I really thought it was going to be a Scooby-Doo, and then they like took the mask off and or the phosphorus paint, the paints the source, whatever. It was a legitimate ghost. And I was like, they actually it took forever for Batman the Animated Series to go in that direction. Like everything was like as real, quote unquote, as they could
grounded,
get, in a weird way. Until like Clayface could make an axe out of his hand or whatever. Like that didn't matter. But I didn't expect the show to go in that direction, and they were like, no, it's a ghost. Because it's just a pulp on a streaming service.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I actually really I really liked it for that reason.
It really feels like a 10-issue limited, series that is sort of set in the 40s. Like it does feel like a pulpy take on I feel like this is it feels like it leapt off the page in sort of a golden age homage.
I also really like Harley's origin being completely tethered from the Joker.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was
untethered,
a little
untethered
from the Joker. Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that was really an interesting. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I was sort of like, oh, okay. Well, they teased the Joker earlier, so this must be where he comes in, right? Because you can't have Harley without the Joker.
Right.
We're really doing Harley without the Joker.
Yeah, so it's always interesting when they play with our expectations, because we've been watching this since the 90s. We've that Harley exists because of that show, the original Batman the Animated Series, and we can't unassociate those two in our minds until this comes along. It's like, oh, okay, this is a different version. This is almost like an alternate Earth. What would you have thought if this was the original story? And I did think that was interesting. I still don't know if I like it better. I like that it's something different and it's not the same thing told over and over again, because I was thinking about the animated movies that we've gotten that are the exact literal adaptations of the stories, a lot of these, and they haven't turned out very well, I don't think.
Very few of them are great.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. The Dark Knight
just makes me think
very good. The Batman Superman Public Enemies is good.
Oh yes. No, that
one. Oh yes, that was.
That's
excellent.
My favorite, probably. I feel like a lot of them are.
New Frontier's good.
Yeah, those are some of the earlier ones.
The very early ones. Yeah.
These ones I'm thinking about
further away.
Yeah. I'm thinking about Hush.
Yeah.
What was the recent
Long Halloween?
The one, yeah, Long Halloween. A lot of them are just like, why are they? They're either way too faithful and there's nothing different. And I'm like, this is boring because I can just read the comic, or they make a change like Hush, which spoilers if you haven't seen it or if you haven't read Hush.
Not a spoiler. Just don't watch it.
Yeah, well, that's 100%. Please do not read the comic instead. But they change who Hush is. They change the identity. It's like that's the entire thing. That's the whole story. Is who is Hush? It's a mystery, and you're changing the mystery. And then I don't think the person that they changed it to was very interesting to me. I don't think the way that they did it.
I think that makes more sense because you just said that like they do a direct adaptation and you know everything, so it's boring. So then when something does change, you're like, well, this is stupid.
But if they do it well, if they did it,
I agree.
Yeah, an amazing,
I don't think
like they blow my mind, and I'm like, this is better than the original. But what they did with it, it was just, this is not interesting to me. And then what was the Batman sleeping with Barbara?
The Killing Joke.
Killing Joke. Yeah. That one is my least favorite. Like I don't think I'll ever watch that one again. But I think about all those. That was leaving a bad taste in my mouth. And this version, I'm like, this is like, I think the way that you do, not 100% faithful, but there are things, they changed Harley's origin. They changed some of these things. And yeah, this is interesting. This is a different take on it. And I'm rolling with it. And I'm like, yeah, modernizing it a little bit. But to go back to the onomatopoeia real quick, I loved that character when Kevin Smith created him, introduced him. It is a great gag, and like his hook is great. His theme is great. Maybe it just works better on the page in your mind, filling in the sound effects versus actually hearing it. It almost came across as kind of corny to me. And I'm like, maybe that doesn't work as well as I thought it would. Like, let's say if we saw that.
Okay. Oh, Superman and Lois. They did it on.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
Is it a good, like, does it sound good?
I agree with you that it works better on the page. I think it is an idea that is probably should stay on the page.
Yeah. So I love the design. Like, it looks great. But yeah, just maybe the voice acting wasn't, maybe that was another thing. It just didn't add to it. But yeah, Tim, I couldn't get behind that onomatopoeia episode. It was just, ooh.
Yeah. The rest of it with the cops and everything was fine. Like, I didn't mind that part of it. Like, I thought that was good. The Corrigan twist I actually enjoyed. I didn't see it coming. Like,
that was cool. I like that.
That was good. Actually, cops, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about Corrupt Bullock? I was talking about this with my friend Bobby, because in the comics, Bullock was corrupt at one point, and and did a turnaround, and he wasn't allowed to be corrupt in the Batman the Animated Series, so they just made him grumpy, basically. And, so you had that like reek of the guy that would be but isn't, and this they just kind of went fully corrupt, like Flash level corrupt. I really like it because it gives the opportunity for the character to do like a turnaround at some particular point, like like to choose Gordon over Flash or to choose Montoya over Flash or whatever. I and also to me it felt like it elevated Montoya a little bit, like because it gave her more of this lone wolf quality.
Sure.
Which basically her and Gordon.
Right. That felt like the Gordon role of year one almost. And like she didn't have anyone else, like you said. And I like that. I like that aspect of it. Bullock, John DiMaggio is another one of my all-time favorite voice actors. And he's kind of like Dietrich Bader, where whether he's good or bad, I love him. And he is, outside of Mark Hamill, he is my favorite Joker of all time with the Under the Hood performance. And hearing him as Bullock, I was just like, oh, he's great. Yeah, Bullock. Yeah. So it's like I still kind of saw him as a good guy in my head because I love his voice so much. But yeah, it's kind of weird. It just feels kind of weird because I just have that animated series Bullock in my head. He's like the Kevin Conroy, like the attachment to Kevin Conroy to Batman was like the animated series to Bullock to me is like that version is always in my head. So the grumpy version of Bullock is always something that I enjoy. So yeah, I'm kind of two minds on this one. Like I'm like, I kind of like it, but then I kind of don't. I'm half and half on it.
Frank?
I don't have a strong opinion on Harvey Bullock to begin with, so I was sort of like, oh, this is a cool way to take like basically take the name and go in a different direction, and I kind of liked that. I guess I'm not attached to the character. It's a very, it's like I'm not attached to, to translate it into a language that I understand. I'm not attached to Steve Lombard either. You know what I mean? Like, all right,
You're not.
Not particularly, no.
Fascinating.
Man,
we haven't really talked about Hamish Linklater as
I was
Batman
just
at all. Like, and so
I was just about to say he was one of my disappointments for this show. He might be my lowest on the totem pole of everything. It just felt like a boring performance to me. It was one note. It was always the same, monotone. Obviously, he's doing that on purpose. He's doing the voice, but I'm just so used to Kevin Conroy being able to play two different characters and not do the Batman voice. Like he's so far to me, Kevin Conroy's been the only one that's been able to pull that off. Every actor that I've seen outside of that has always tried to do the Batman voice. Even going back to Michael Keaton. Adam West. I'll say Adam West was the other one that he didn't put on a voice.
No,
but
not at all.
Bruce Greenwood didn't really put on a voice, but that's mostly because that's just what Bruce Greenwood already sounded like.
Yeah,
that's right.
Second. Yes.
Yeah.
I was actually having a conversation about this outside. If you don't have Kevin Conroy, give me Bruce Greenwood. He is my second favorite. Can you tell I like Under the Red Hood? That was my favorite DC animated movie that they ever did. Man, I love that movie. But yeah, Bruce Greenwood was fantastic.
He was great.
When you listen to Batman's voice, like it felt like there was an authority to it. And I don't know if maybe they're going for, because this is his first year, it's just he hasn't found his voice yet.
I think the husky voice is I think honestly I've talked about this before, but I think that the Dark Knight trilogy saved and ruined Batman in media at the same time.
Yeah,
because
I can see that.
Christian Bale did a thing, and everyone was like, "Well, that's the voice now. That's what it is." And so because other actors have done kind of like Michael Keaton did a husky voice and whatever, but basically everybody has tried to do what the Dark Knight did in different various aspects of it since then. And so I'm just kind of used to it. So I wasn't enthralled by the performance, but I thought his Bruce Wayne was better than his Batman for the same reason that I felt I liked the design of Bruce Wayne. I felt that the voice fit the body of the character and how he felt like he does have a Bruce Wayne and a Batman, but his Bruce when he's not being the socialite is basically just Batman. He does have three distinct, but his husky Batman I think is just kind of that's what everybody does now.
And it's
so,
just we've heard it so many times, it just feels like the same. It just feels like the
same. But I do feel like if you did something different, or if you tried to be Kevin Conroy, I guess, then you're not playing the part like you would play the part. You're playing it like Kevin would try to play the part, and it doesn't feel authentic, I guess, that way. But I feel like the husky voice, what you're saying is that the husky voice doesn't allow for a range of emotion in which, the lowering of the timber, that Kevin Conroy's do, that did allow him a range of emotion. That doing this is not gonna
Right.
Yes.
I've got to stop Harley or something. Yeah.
It feels to me like a combination of like they're 100% influenced by Christian Bale. No question.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like they feel like doing that is as good as the Kevin Conroy deep voice, and it's not the same. I agree with what you just said, Tim. Like it's not. There is a difference, and you can't sort of substitute one for the other. It's not. It doesn't give the same emotional depth to it. That it's like, okay, when I'm Bruce, I'm up here, but when I'm Batman, I'm down here.
Right.
But
even
I'm
in the comics,
it's a little different.
Right. Even in the comics, they're like Batman's voice is raspy. Like everybody says it. Like that's like when they talk about it. So like technically, that's supposed to be the voice, but they've only started saying that after The Dark Knight. I distinctly remember reading Grant Morrison's beginning of the run on his Batman arc, like the first one with the Batman and Son, and Alfred is like, that raspy Batman voice you do, you're doing it all the time. Like, why are you telling me what Batman's supposed to sound like? Just
right.
Let me have it up here. But
yeah,
I like Hamish Linklater a lot. Like he's a really good actor. I've liked him in everything that I've seen him in, but it was fine. It didn't take me out of it. Like, but I wasn't like, you're the best performance in here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that actually might go to other people.
I think it says a lot that I didn't even think about his performance.
Right. Yeah.
In some ways, that's good.
In some ways, that is like it's also like in a worse show, he would be the best thing in it. But in a great show, he's just sort of like I don't think that far down the stack because the show is so great.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
what I do appreciate about it being different is that Batman's design is so close to the one that we're used to seeing with Kevin Conroy's voice. Is that like it like I didn't feel like I was listening to an impersonator, which would have distracted me a lot. And the husky, like, hey, we're gonna meet in a back foggy alley, fits the mood and the tone of the real noir that they're going for.
Right.
So I can get on board with all of it because of the show that it's telling. But if you took that voice and put him somewhere else, I wouldn't be as enthralled.
Yeah, I guess I just don't like the choice
like
of
you're
the
getting
casting
older
director.
And you only like stuff from your childhood. I think that's
that's not true. That's not true.
That's impossible.
I liked Pattinson, Robert Pattinson's. I liked his was fine. I didn't have a problem with his, but yeah, I just don't know what specifically they were when they saw the casting. They're like, okay, yeah, this is perfect for this show because it should be, I think, one of the best parts of the show because it's Batman, the Cape Crusade. Cape Crusade. It's in the name. He's one of the main focuses. So, his. And I'm not saying that like the voice should be the focus. I'm saying the performance should stand out to me as, wow, that was one of the best Batmans I've ever heard. That was one of the best Batman performances. And I don't come away thinking that. At the end of the day, I'm not, oh man, Bruce Greenwood. I came in as a Kevin Conroy fan. And after I watched Under the Red Hood, I was like, oh, someone else can actually be Batman. And same thing with Diedrich Bader. When I watched Brave and the Bold, that was one of the first things I was like, this is, number one, the art style. I was like, oh, this is for kids. Diedrich Bader doesn't sound like Kevin Conroy to me. I got completely flipped on that show. Now it's one of my favorite of all time. And I will always go to bat for that show. But that's just another example of, I think, if you cast the right voice and he's giving the right performance, and his is not like it's Diedrich Bader's voice, but it's just a little bit lower. He's not whispering and he's not trying to do it, but you can tell it's a performance. It's an actor doing a performance. So yeah, all that to say, I think that was one of my least favorite elements about this show was Linklater's performance. That was one of the lower tiers for me.
I liked his Bruce. I will say that. I liked his Bruce a lot.
Yeah. I actually, this is to kind of move off into other voices that we really like, but I really like Christina Ricci's Catwoman.
Yes.
Her style, I thought she was great. because not everybody's a voice actor. So like sometimes when you take a
right.
screen actor and you're like, oh, you can do voice acting. Like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But to me, that one really paid. That one really paid off. I thought she was great. But Mini Driver's Oswalda didn't work for me the way I wanted it to.
Didn't realize that one was Mini Driver.
I like Mini Driver a lot. She's a good actress. She's a good voice actress. You know, Jane from Tarzan. You know, like whatever. But
right.
I just don't. I don't know. I just like maybe it just didn't feel like the Penguin to me. It felt like it could have been another character. So
yeah, I agree with that. It's and that's definitely us. You know, coming in with our preconceived notions of who is the Penguin, right? Like what is the Penguin? I don't think it's necessarily tied to the gender, but seeing it now as reversed, I don't think that added anything to it. I don't think that was like, this is a better Penguin because it's female. I just don't know what that specifically added. It just seemed also I thought I had a little bit of a strange feeling about the Gordons. And the only reason why is because Barbara has red hair. And it looks like the way that they're painting the skin tones, they're both supposed to be African American in this. And that's fine. But why does she have red hair? It just seems that like they're trying to make her look like both. Like it just seems kind of weird to me.
She's definitely trying. They're definitely. It's best of two worlds. Like they're trying to have her be both.
Kind of ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they're all. I mean, they're definitely black. That was kind of like it wasn't like a. To me, that wasn't like a question or anything.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But I feel like the hair dye is the thing, and she's got red hair, and you know this show's got half a guy's face melted off, and a guy that can change his clothes. Like if she wants red hair, she can have it. Like you know, it's just Alfred's fat. Like it doesn't matter. You know, like to me, like Harley's Asian, right? You know, like that's
true.
You know, like
Flass also Flass is black in this.
Yeah, let them cook. Yeah, they're just doing something different. You know, like yeah.
And Jamie Chung was Harley Quinn. I thought she did a great job.
I thought she did a great job too.
Yeah,
it was a totally different take on Harley, and I really liked it. I kind of like that she didn't feel like she was doing anything bad. Like she was just like,
right.
I gotta get out of here for a while because people don't agree with me. But
yes,
I know I'm right. Like I liked that take on her.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that as well.
And it was that mixture between she's not cackling, laughing, crazy, Jokerized Harley, and she's not Harleen Quinzel before she met Joker, and she's just supposed to be a straight psychiatrist. I think they have her right in the middle, right in between, because you can see obviously the crazy in her and the things that she's doing behind the scenes. But she also feels like when that therapy session with Bruce, she feels like a psychiatrist. She feels like she's genuinely reading him and saying, hey, this is, you're walled off and you're these are all the things that you're doing. So I believe that, that she could be both instead of it's either one or the other, and without being tied to the Joker. Like all of this stuff is interesting to me.
You reminded me of something. You pinged my memory that I don't know if this is a compliment or not, but she actually reminds me a lot of Mia Sarah's Harley from Birds of Prey, the one season.
Yes,
Miles Millar. And
I think I only saw the pilot of that.
Yeah, Harley was the main villain in the first season, and she's really not like technically they just say she's the Joker's girlfriend, like because they way before they like had a split in the comics or anything, but like the Joker's dead in the show, and she's just doing, but she's like straight laced, like homicidal, like like quiet, the version of Harley, and like she can get a little kooky, but not. She's much more closer to this than she was to any version, and I have not really thought about that in so long, but I was like, wow, I have seen something like that similar before. Crazy how much content there is out there.
Oh yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
like the forgotten Harley Quinn of the world. Like Margot Robbie's first time player in live action. Not true. Me and Sarah got 13 episodes, baby.
It's true.
It is crazy to see where comic book stuff is today versus. I was watching something the other day and I can't remember what it was, but it was like I remember when this was the only thing that I could, grab onto and say this is a comic book thing that I'm watching live action, and to think now there's so many. Like there's the Suicide Squad anime that came out on Max that I haven't heard anyone talking about, but it's like, yeah, there's a Suicide Squad anime. Like there's so much stuff coming out right now.
You just can't keep up with all of it.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
is good. But my perpetual example of this is the only thing is David Hasselhoff's Nick Fury. That's like my go-to. Like, this was it. This was all
I remember
we had.
that. Yeah,
and you were just like, okay,
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
man, we've come
this
a long
or nothing.
way.
Like,
yeah, gotta watch it all. Otherwise, they won't make anything anymore.
right? Exactly.
Yes. I
watching
used to think that way.
Yes. Yeah. Watching Deadpool, really brought that back, right? Made me remember what it was like in the early, all the references to days gone by, days of future past, if you will, really made me, made me remember what it was like and like, man, how far we've come.
Oh yeah, man.
Is there anything you guys want to say final about Batman the Crusader?
I wasn't able to find out the Joker. I don't think they've revealed his voice, but yeah, I'm looking forward to season 2. There's a perfect setup for this of Batman's like slow evolution at the end with Alfred and then the Joker. It's also very similar to the Batman's Joker of just kind of teasing him. He's there, he's going to be, I think, a bigger player coming down the road, but I think they're in great hands, especially if they keep doing what they've been doing with the noir stuff and having consequences, like Tim said, not okay, this guy is going to live forever. There's no consequence of what can happen to people. There's actually something is going, there's no stakes, I should say. There's actual stakes, and this makes this interesting. This makes it, worthy of, hey, this person can die, this person can get hurt. So I'm really looking forward to the next season. Actually,
when Harvey Dent takes a bullet for Barbara Gordon, like that is, no one is safe. No one is safe.
Yes, 100%.
No,
watch out, Alfred. Careful.
Coming for you. I just had a thought, but it didn't pan out. I was curious because Arkham Asylum looks like a pleasant place.
Oh, yeah, right.
In like in this, I like that they kind of like it wasn't like it didn't actually fit the gothic noir thing. They was just like a straight this is a nice building. Look at it. But I was curious if it resembled
the Golden Age version or something
from something else from another thing. But for whatever reason, I thought maybe it resembled the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Hospital, but it does not. So not even close.
Actually, you know what? I forgot. As you mentioned, all the Robins episode, which that kind of made me upset. I think that was almost guaranteeing that we're not going to get Robin moving forward. It was like, hey guys, just to please the fans, here's an Easter egg of every Robin. Here's all of them in this one episode, and we're not going to do a proper Robin going forward. I think that's the way I felt. I was watching it.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think you're right. It's like and take Batgirl off the table too while we're at it.
Nope, I disagree with that. I think you are going to get a Batgirl.
Ooh,
I think that they plant enough seeds on how she's fed up with the way that the system works and her edging closer to working with Batman, and she freaking wears purple this entire time. There's no the whole.
Yeah, I noticed wearing purple, but I just thought that was an homage. But you make a good point.
Yeah, I think that she gets fed up with how it all works so much that she's going to end up doing a Batgirl thing. And I really wouldn't mind that at all. I did like, as an Easter egg, that Dick Grayson is wearing the same outfit he's wearing as the flashback Dick Grayson for Batman the Animated Series. His,
nice.
Red sweater and whatever. Like, he basically looked exactly the same, just kind of shorter. It was like comic accurate Dick Grayson. He's like really short.
Not to scale.
not to scale. Yeah. I didn't mind them all being there because, like you said, like Vactor, like you said, you're like, oh no, they're not going to do Robin. Like,
I agree, and I'm okay with that. I'm honestly okay with that.
I'm fine with that. That doesn't really bother me. Like, let them tell the story they want to tell, and then maybe if Dick Grayson gets involved in that somehow, or he creates like, maybe they all become Robins, like they're kind of like the Newsboy Legion, where they're like out in the streets hearing stuff.
As part of not as a costume.
They're the Robins, but they're not costume kids fighting. I feel like in this world, like costume kids don't. I mean, Batman's dressed up or whatever, but like costume kids, it's not an adventure; it's danger.
Right.
You know,
right.
Like
this version,
this version. So I might be a little uncomfortable with that. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Batman stares at the map of Gotham City every episode.
Yeah,
like when he's in the Batcave, he's staring at that board. That's all he does.
Yep.
Right. And Alfred's like shuffling the paperwork,
right,
up down, doing the things.
You know, in that way, it reminded me of Batman 66. Like that board, that glass, board you could see through, really reminded me.
I think that was an homage.
I think so. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. But anyway, Frank, you have anything else you want to
add? No. I really enjoyed it. I really did. I liked it a lot, and I was like really surprised with how much I enjoyed it and how much I was like glued to the screen. And give me more of these. I love these. Like, do it sort of. I loved the sort of. I know that it is now going to have a second season, but I actually loved the feeling of like, oh, this is a one-off. Like I said before, it felt like a trade. It felt like reading a trade paperback of a like contained story. That I kind of enjoyed it for that reason. Not that I won't enjoy season 2 of it. I absolutely will. But I enjoyed that aspect of it a lot, and just sort of feeling like here is a pretty well contained story over 10 episodes. Let's get into it and enjoy it. I liked it a lot.
Are there any villains you'd like to see pop up in season 2? We got a couple that were like mentioned here, or like Killer Croc was in the circus episode, though they don't, they call him Wayland, and he looks more like Brian Azzarello's version, where from the Joker graphic novel. But is there anybody that you guys would like to see?
I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'd like if they surprised me, because that was a lot of these. I was like, oh, they're using this person. Oh, they're using this person. Onomatopoeia, I knew they had advertised ahead of time, but pretty much everyone else, I was like surprised by. I would like to go in that way again of like, just as I'm watching it, oh, that person. Because Batman's rogues gallery obviously is the best in comics. So there's so many that they could pull from, so many Golden Age people. And I want to see if they're going to do some of the more like the 50s Condiment King or Clock King or Kite Man. Let's get Kite Man in here. Yeah, there's my answer. Kite Man.
No.
Professor Pig.
Ooh.
I think he was there. He already was teased, right? There's the guy that lost his big mask in Arkham. Yeah.
I missed that.
I think I missed that.
Yeah. When Barbara goes to see.
Oh, I got to rewatch
one
that.
Of the guys. I can't remember what episode it was.
I totally missed that. Huh.
Yeah.
I need to rewatch that.
He was in there.
I
would love to say. I always love Clock. I am a big Clock King fan. I love Clock King. So I would like to see that. I love seeing Rupert Thorne. I like that they use Rupert Thorne instead of the Falcone.
Instead of the Falcones, yeah.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. I had somebody that I wanted to see in it. It totally. Oh, I'd like to see a new version of Scarecrow. I'd like to see.
Yeah. That would be good.
They would do here. I like that noir flavor. Wouldn't mind Black Mask. That's something that Bruce Timm touched upon.
Yep.
Earlier, and Undergrad, like I talked about Grant Morrison before, I wouldn't mind seeing the Black Glove. Like,
okay,
or Ra's al Ghul. Actually, I'm always
Ra's al Ghul was yes,
all of those, all of the above.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Vactor, where can people find you?
On YouTube at This Comic Cooks for comic books, at Trust in the Force for Star Wars, and then everywhere else on social media at Vactorverse.
Very good. Frank, where can people find the two of us?
Beerwithgeeks.com. You can rate and review us in any podcast app you like. You can follow or subscribe in any podcast app you like, and you can help us out at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. I would say that was probably the best place to find us, Tim.
Excellent.
Or at the bottom of a glass of beer.
Potentially. Gentlemen, it is always an absolute pleasure to talk to the both of you. I hope to see you both again soon. But until next time, cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.